that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If we say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Hello and welcome to Souq Business Landscape, your trusted compass through the ever-evolving current of affairs of Africa's economic infrastructure and investment affairs. Now, today, we spotlight bold moves shaping Nigeria's economic outlook, from mega refinery deals and billion-dollar infrastructure loans to capital market expansion and corruption legislation and global trade turbulence. As we dive into today's top stories, we will explore what they mean for businesses, investors, and the average citizen. Are these game changers or just familiar headlines with fresh politics? This is Souq Business Landscape. I am Olumide Shokoya. I feel privileged to be on this table with Juggernaut, starting from my right, the institution himself, the think tank.
Olumide.
Dr. Idahosa.
My name is Idahosa. Simply nice to be here on this table. Viewers out there, we love you. Just follow us as we have the conversations. Ours is to make Nigeria and Africa indeed a great place to live.
Also by my left, looking so ravishing and dashing. I actually told him before the start of this show. Moyo Adebi.
Yeah, I think I need you guys to miss me more. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Maybe we should be asking him where you went to and why it was scarce on the program.
Yeah, no, I've been working on myself. I've been trying to build myself so that I can be better for the show like this. Yeah, thank you.
Quite charming. Of course, I have the gentleman himself, Onyipriye Kumale. Welcome.
Thank you very much. The gentlest of them all. It's nice to be
Well, we need to find out what is the meaning of being gentle.
All right, so on this week's Souq Business Landscape, Nigeria moves with bold intent, from coastal highways to mega refineries, from bond market to anti-graft reforms. But as the headlines roll in, the question grows louder. Let's start with infrastructure. The federal government locks in $747 million loan to finish the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway, a 47-kilometer stretch built with reinforced concrete, expected to last 50 years. But as the concrete sets, we must ask, will this highway finally drive Nigeria's trade and job growth? Or will it be another expensive promise with potholes ahead? From that, we'll move to the capital market. The Nigerian exchange lists over 4 billion naira in federal government saving bonds, offering double-digit interest and aiming to attract everyday investors. But beyond the numbers, can high returns, truly unlock public trust in the capital market, or are retail investors simply cushioning government borrowing? And of course, on anti-corruption measures. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, seeks new legislation to criminalize unexplained wealth. Yes, unexplained wealth, especially among public officials. But in a country where lifestyle often outpaces declared incomes, can a law tame corruption? Or will it become just another tool in the wrong hands? And of course, in the energy and industry sector, Nigeria signed a $15 billion refinery deal to produce 500,000 barrels per day in Ondo State. Yes, Ondo State, aiming to cut imports and lead West Africa's fuel supply. An oil revolution in the making, or deja vu. Will this refinery deliver results? Others stalled, or become another project lost in the pipeline? Finally, trade policy. And across the Atlantic, President Donald Trump slaps a 50%, yes, 50% tariff on copper, citing national security and shaking global trade once again. But with copper powering green tech and construction, is this protection or provocation? And how will African exporters weather this stock? That's the pulse of this week's Business Landscape. The moves are bold, but are they bankable? Stay tuned. Stay curious. We'll be right back.
needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Welcome back. Let's begin. The federal government has secured a $747 million syndicated loan for the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway. The funding will go into completing the first section of the road stretching 47 kilometers from Victoria Island to Eleko village in Lagos. The project is over 70% done. The deal, coordinated by Deutsche Bank and backed by regional lenders, including Afrexim Bank and Zenith Bank, marks Nigeria's first major international financing, this kind for the road infrastructure. The road is being built using reinforced concrete technology expected to last up to 50 years. With little maintenance, officials say the highway will boost trade, improve regional connectivity, and create jobs. It is one of the flagship projects under the Tinubu administration. Let me start with Dr. Idahosa. It says here, the road, the Lagos-Calabar construction highway, coastal highway, is 70% done. So my first question is...
No, the first tranche.
The phase, yes. So my question is, why the loan now? Was it as a result of underestimation, or what could have prompted this?
Well, I think from the initial briefing that the federal government has given on the necessity and the importance of the 700-kilometer Lagos-Calabar coastal highway was the fact that the federal government was going to do a partnership with High Tech, who was supposed to source about 700% of that funding, while the federal government contributes about 30% of the funding, which is equal to about 4.6 trillion, or about 3 billion US dollars as part of its contribution to that construction. And there was also another syndicated loan of $747 million that was also to be sourced from World Bank and other funding agencies to complement this project. So I think that it is that phase of the syndicated loan that, of course, that the federal government is actually seeking approval for, since it's already in the plans of what government is going to do to fund that project. I'm not seeing as a deviation from what currently is on the ground. But I think these are things that need to be properly actually explained to the public so that people understand what is happening. Because from 2023, when, of course, that briefing was done by the Minister of Works, David Umahi, he said this is a private, public-private partnership with High Tech, and they are going to provide 70% of the funding. Federal government will do a counterpart funding of 30%. And I think that is where, of course, that 30% is something that will be programmed into the annual budget for that project. But there's also a syndicated funding that they're also expecting that, of course, government need to take a loan of about over $700 million to complement the funding of the first phase. And I think that is where we are, because they're saying that for that 40-kilometer stretch to be complete, so that, of course, the road can be open to motorists, especially those who are moving from Victoria Island down to the refinery, and all those areas can begin to use the road. But until that last stretch of 10 kilometers is done, that road will not be open for motorists, and they are hoping that before the end of the year they could have done that, so that the entire road can be open, and then, of course, they can also put a toll on it, so that the partner, of course, the High Tech, can start to recoup their investments on that amount. But what, of course, is unknown to the public also is to what extent had these people put their money down, and what is the federal government contribution so far. And I think if this data on the public space, people will be rest assured that the right thing is being done.
All right, second question. Yes, I know Zenith Bank is involved, but do you think international financing is necessary? And what does it have to say about our domestic capacity in terms of our sovereign wealth fund?
Well, I think that is not in question. As we speak, CBN is still putting a lot of pressure on the bank to be able to recapitalize. I remember, I think it was CIBN function in 2023 when, of course, the CBN governor, while bank MDs and chairman were seated and asked them, really, the vision of the federal government currently is to drive a $1 trillion GDP economy, and ask the bank as they were sitting down, can you conveniently fund this? And the answer is no. They cannot conveniently fund it. So even the 500 billion capitalization that the bank is saying, only very few banks have been able to achieve that as we speak. And if you follow news, you see GDP just floated a bond in the United Kingdom to raise also another money to be able to meet up with what the banks are asking for. So I think the project is massive and is bigger than what we currently have capacity to fund. And there would be need for us to look on the outside to see how we can get loan to fund it.
All right, coming to you, Priye, what are your thoughts? And another question, what mechanisms do you think should be put in place to avoid mismanagement and transparency?
Okay, first of all, I would like to reel out the names of the banks that are involved. The Abu Dhabi Bank, the African Export-Import Bank, that's Afrexim Bank, ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, the Nexten Bank of NV, formerly Credit European, or Europe Bank, and Zenith Bank. Of course, he has mentioned the Deutsche Bank, that's in Germany. And I think if a larger chunk of this $747 million should be coming from that European giant economy. First of all, I think this project is going to take 8 years, the completion of the project. And the benefits are humongous. That is why the government doesn't only need to mobilize those who are ready to provide this money, but also we know that the government will give some other things in return. The money that the government needs to prosecute this loan cannot be, provided by one entity alone. That is why the government is going for a syndicated body for them to come together to provide this. And that's very, very important. The benefits, I call them the 3 T's: trade, transportation, and tourism. Connectivity is very, very important. It's going through or beside the 9 coastal states: Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Cross River, Ondo, Ogun, Delta, Edo, you just name it. So I begin to imagine the economic activities that this vast infrastructure is going to provide on that part of town. And Doc just referenced tolling. This tolling is not only going to come from commuters that are going to be using this project. It's only also these traders, tourism, and transportation is also going to make its own quota available. So the government is looking at diverse sources of revenue on its own part to fund it. But first of all, revenue will not be the primary responsibility. Government is looking at it. So if we're talking about mismanagement, this is not a project that I want to look at mismanagement for. Look at just 2 years into this administration, and we are looking at the phase 1 of the project at 70% complete. About 30 kilometers is gone, remaining because it's 47.7 kilometers, and about just remaining 17 kilometers for the administration to complete. If we look at it and we do not go, the forecast of the government with regards to the volatility of the naira, the dollar, is if it's maintained within the forecast of the government, we should end up spending about 10.8 or a little bit above $10 billion, which is an equivalent of 2.8 trillion naira. But the thing is that exchange rate that is where we're going to have difficulty. Because the government and the leaders of the economy, they don't know tomorrow. They've given a forecast.
Yes.
If it falls within that threshold of the forecast, we are good. But if it goes outside completely, then I won't say we are doomed, but we might need to revisit that. Yes.
All right, the reason why I was talking about mismanagement, not to sound like a devil's advocate, if you look at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway,
Yes.
and the number of, or the donkey years it took for completion, I know this administration, they've been doing well, but what are your hopes about this particular project?
Well, currently, as we speak, the Economics and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is tending to criminalize unfounded. That's one of the stories we will be looking at. So I don't want to go ahead of myself. But as we speak, still the same body is petitioning the National Assembly, including the Senate, that look, you have not been able to make available some of these audited reports of ministries, departments, and agencies. And it is hindering our job from carrying out some of these investigations that we need to do. So if they're petitioning the Senate will need to sit up, because they are saddled with the responsibility of carrying out oversight functions as well.
Yes.
Well,
I
I think just to buttress what Krumala is pointing, I think it was Cosmos Maduka I was listening to recently, and he was talking on a podcast, and he said there are 5 levels of money. That most of the time, an average person focuses on the cash. That cash is the lowest level of money. The highest level of money, according to him, is credibility. Your credibility. And he said, if I am a bank and I want to give money, the first thing I look at you, is this person credible? Should I give this person money? That's the first question to ask. And if this person is not credible, then you can't give him money. And then the second level is credible relationship. I said credible relationship. Yes, you may not have that credibility on your own, but you are Femi Otedola's friend or brother, and Femi Otedola is ready to donate his own credibility to you. Then, of course, the bank will be ready to give you money. You understand this? And this is quite profound. Now, what this means is that if you're even having the Bank of Abu Dhabi wanting to put money in your project, it means that, of course, they will have done their due diligence. And they're also seeing the feasibility and the viability of the project. And what really excites me about the Abu Dhabi side of the conversation is that tolling is no longer brick walls or gates. Tolling should be electronics, like the way it's done in the UAE. Every toll road in the UAE don't have gates. They only have camera position at certain positions. And as cars are driving past, the money is hitting the account of the government. And then you can easily account for whatever that is spent. And in that alone, if has implemented a loan, Project Salik, you can go it. Over 800 million they make annually from just toll alone. The entire borrow here is about 747.
Yes.
Project Salik in Dubai alone makes $800 million every year. Clean road project. So you drive through, if you are on a RTA cab, you know, they said, oh, you start riding at 5 dirhams. Once you get to where a toll is, 4 dirham is added automatically to your bill.
Wow.
It jumped to 9 dirham. And as it's jumping in there in your bill, the money is landing in the coffers of the government. And so they can see it in real time what money is made. And I think that is where the viability of this project will be. That you're having people who are having interest and ever seen you credible enough to want to borrow you money. Recently, we saw that last month, early this month, the World Bank finally agreed to give Ghana money.
Yes.
And that's after starving them for a whole fiscal year. To discipline them and said, for 2024, Ghana didn't spend any one dime on capital projects to maintain a discipline, to get to the level of credibility that the World Bank will say, we can finance your project. So, you see, this is what it is for me. And I think that's one of the things that we should always be saying, that we have some currency. And I think it was Maduka who said, whether you like it or not, the way people survive on earth is through credit. America is the richest country in the world, but they are also the richest debtor. Dangote is the richest man in Africa, but it's also the biggest debtor in Nigeria. So whichever way it is, people live on credit. And I think that is what we should be the focus on our conversation.
Thank you very much. Now, coming to you more, you're talking about credit. This is a huge project. Enough economic opportunities seen here. But let's look at it. What does this speak on Nigeria's debt sustainability?
Well, obviously, it's going to stretch, our external debts significantly. I mean, it almost seems like we kind of need loans to almost like fund everything in Nigeria. And, I understand what, the doctor is saying. Nobody's going to give you a loan if they don't think you're creditworthy. I understand that. But I think for me, the trust part is not, between our federal government or their partners and the banks that are funding them. It's me saying I would like that this money are put to good use and it's, it's beneficial to us. It won't be the first time we see a project that is funded by external funders, and as months or years go by, projects get abandoned and stuff like that. You don't even really know what happened. You don't know who took the money, where the money is, So obviously, I wasn't generally on board with this project when it started, but, it's a bold and audacious project, and we're already on it already, so there's no point. I even went to the Oniru axis, and I saw it. The constructions look very solid. I would tell you myself, the constructions, they look very solid. I was even surprised that they've gotten so far, already. So I just want this to serve Nigerians. I do worry a lot about our external debt and, all of that. But again, I would hope that the Deutsche Bank and all the other funding partners and high tech, because again, this is not just the government doing it. There are, private partnerships involved. I hope everybody has done their feasibility studies and have done everything to know that this can work. And I hope that it serves the Nigerian people properly.
Coming back to you, Doc, how does this affect Nigeria's debt sustainability? In a positive way or a negative way?
Well, I think everybody is almost agreed that the problem in Nigeria, just like Moyo has said, it's not about the debt. You see, it's the prudence with which we manage our resources. And I think that's what a lot of people are quite worried about. And I think as a matter of fact, and I think it was Augusto when this regime came in, and they were actually proposing to government, and I even hear it from a lot of politicians who are saying that, look, if we have to take off, Nigeria needs to take a massive debt for us to get to the point of takeoff, because there is a lot that is missing here. We're talking about infrastructure gaps. That is over $300 billion US. Infrastructure deficits in Nigeria alone. So if you have to meet up with that modern kind of this thing, you will need to do a lot of funding. And of course, you can't have private funding all these things. There are aspects that you will have government to fund. But for me, honestly, and I think there's so much resources in this nation that there's no other alternative to a digitalized government where our public officers are not having access to money, that we are no longer counting cash in the public domain. Every transaction of government straight to CBN. And if that happens, we will have been able to block all the loopholes. And then we can actually see what is coming in. Government can predict how much money is able to earn, so that even if he's going to borrow, he's able to say that if I borrow XYZ, by this period XYZ, I'm able to repay it. So you can see the visibility of your revenue as against your expected borrowing. And I think we need to have that done. And I think that's what government needs to do. So in this case, we are not going to be chasing too many people in terms of corruption. We will only be chasing very few people. And we are not going to waste too much of energy and resources chasing few people. And those people you now know will be that people who are the back end of the technology. And then, of course, those who have the authorization power that these are the people you are now going to be beaming your searchlight on. Not every Dick and Harry that work for government. But as it is now, most of our transactions are still manual, and a lot of the people are still within manipulation. And I think that's the same reason that they're talking about audit reported are not coming out as at when due. Yeah. The problem is because you have too many paperwork, over 1,000 agencies of government, everyone had to come with 3 copies of the audited statement. And how many rooms will contain 1,000 in 3 bags? You can imagine the Ghana must go that gets into the National Assembly. All these things are the real issue that causes the delay in terms of audit. So if we can strengthen that entire government operation and make it into e-government, and at the end of the year, by the 31st day of December 2025, on a click of a button, your account statement is ready. You don't need to do any mathematics because it will have processed by itself. AI will have helped you do a whole lot of things, and you have your report. So, but now we are manual. It is difficult for us to achieve that part because the auditors will need to sit down to look at the book, page by book. Some of the pages are 1,000 pages, some of them are 2,000 pages, and you know what energy it will take for somebody to read those things, for you to get those statements. I think for us, in case of managing these things, because I'm specifically concerned about the coastal road, e-tagging, not manual tolling.
Okay.
Yeah.
E-tagging, because once you do the e-tag, it works. Because if, as is proposed, this is tagged. In 2 years, the money that we are getting here is enough to do the 30 kilometers.
What about people who can get the card? Maybe people from other remote areas.
No, what it means is that once you are registering your car, so we have to also redesign the way cars are structured. Good. Because every car now, once you are registering with local government, whether it's in Edo State or anywhere, you have a wallet attached to your license, so that when you are passing where there is a tag, automatically the chip is captured and then the deduction is done from your wallet. If you don't have money in the wallet,
minus.
They give you a minus.
Okay.
So, and in some cases you will not be able to even drive.
But it could even possibly be linked to your bank account.
Yes, of course, that's what it is here.
So that was going to be my next point of call, because we are talking about digital, the establishment and the siting of digital infrastructure, which we need also to beam eagle eyes on, so that it does not fall prey to pilferers and those who go about vandalizing government infrastructure. So if we're talking about that, we are looking at it from diverse and different perspectives. You just mentioned a few. Your car number, plate number, probably would be tagged to a wallet. Would that wallet also be tagged to your bank account, so that there's a way you be, because if you say a wallet, what if I end up not funding that wallet? And there's not going to be physical barrier on that road whenever you are passing. So nobody can stop you and say you are owing the government. You understand?
You know the bad part is that, let me just give you how it works.
Yeah, okay.
You'll be debited, but it's showing minus.
Yes.
Now, the day your vehicle papers are due for registration,
yes, you pay everything.
You explain
whether you like it or not, you have to renew the document.
I changed my car. If it's going to be expired in the next 2 years, what if I change my car in the process without paying?
No, your plate number is attached to you.
Yes.
As of today. If you have a car today,
you as an individual,
your plate number is attached to you. You can't transfer your plate number. So any debt on the plate number comes directly to you. So once they present your plate number, whether you are buying a new car, you are asking for a new plate number, your debt on that card, you have to bear it before you can make a proceed. So the issue is not the implementability. What they do is that in other places, you put this thing there and they send you just a debit note.
Yeah.
In Lagos here today, in short, the other day my friend parked along Marina here, and before he got home, he got an SMS telling him that you are owing Lagos State 25,000 for illegal parking. Yes. Technology has advanced to that level. So another thing with that problem is even allowing that technology to be in place, for me, is the principal thing.
Okay, so doctor, we have to understand that.
1 minute.
Yes, we have to understand that when it comes to a certain level of infrastructure and getting back money, most especially from taxation and all of that, Lagos is at the forefront. And sometimes I say Lagos State is about 50 years ahead of most states. Look at some of the states, these coastal states that we are looking about. They have to borrow a leaf from Lagos, not only just to build infrastructure, because if you are able to build infrastructure, most especially road, just the way the Lagos State government has done, then those other states would have taken up the initiative to toll some of this or to be very, very stringent.
No. It's a federal road.
Yes,
the states don't need to have anything to do with it. It's a federal road. Anybody who want in that coastal road want to drive on that road. If you want to drive on that road, you see, it's going to have a uniform policy. Because if you go to the UAE, you start with see they have about 7 Emirates. So if you are driving from Sharjah, they have their own taxi. If you are from Ras Al Khaimah, they have their own taxi. So if you are from Dubai, you have your own taxi. If you are from Abu Dhabi, you have your own taxi. But all these things, they drive within the system, ecosystem. Yeah. But everybody has their own wallet connected to their government. So that interbank, like what they call the interbank settlement, that's what happened. States settles themselves and see what money they're coming through the toll gate in your area. Yeah. But what we need to do, since it's a federal road, if you're going to use a federal road, of course, the people who are managing that road, they are federal institutions. So whether the states have their own infrastructure may not be the real problem. But the real worry for me here is every time I pay 500 on my car, passing Lagos here, Lagos toll, and I'm driving on a pothole, and I am paying 500 naira to fan.
You'll be very upset.
God, it can be quite upsetting.
And you pay cash.
No. Yes, of course.
Yes, you pay cash. Okay. You pay cash.
They will give you a cash, they give you a receipt. But whatever who owes that receipt is not known. But the truth is that for the fact that there's a toll there should not be a pothole in that environment.
Very true.
All right, so in rounding, let me just throw this question, anyone who wants to answer. Which federal government agency should be given this task?
The task of what?
Collecting tolls.
There's no tax. It's not federal government. This is
PPP.
It's PPP. So it's a company. It's high tech that is collecting their toll.
So they would
then the informed that they will collect it too, and then of course they are going to now be paying their taxes and the royalty to the government.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the next topic for today. The Nigerian Exchange Limited has listed 2 tranches of the federal government of Nigeria's June 2025 savings bonds totaling 4.01 billion naira, according to the market bulletin released on Wednesday. The first bond, valued at 875.06 million naira, is a 2-year instrument maturing in June 2027. With a 16.121% coupon rate, it trades under the symbol FGS 202791 and comprises 875.062 units. The second tranche, a 3-year bond maturing in June 2028, attracted a 3.13 billion naira in subscription with a coupon rate of 17.121%. It trades under the symbol FGS 202892 and comprises over 3.13 million units. Both bonds pay interest quarterly on September 11, December 11, March 11, and June 11. The listing supports the federal government's ongoing effort to deepen domestic investment and attract retail participation in the bond market. Let me start off with Doc. Now, how do we, it's a very good, you have encouraged Priya and I to actually go into this kind of
He didn't say any of that to me. Interesting.
So, but my question now is, how do we also encourage mass participation, especially the rural and unbanked population?
I think that's what we are doing. It's cheap. Minimum of 5,000 investment.
Yes.
There's nothing like just sleeping and your money is just working for you.
Just working.
And now you're working for your money.
I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah.
For people who have some cash here, good cash, if I put 3 billion there, and you know what 6%, 16% means for me in 2 years? That's some money.
Doc, you have 3 billion.
If I put 3 billion there, you know what it means for me? So I'll just be moving from state to state. I don't need to sweat. Money is working for you. And I think the beautiful thing that, of course, we have seen in the NGS is the fact that everyone is oversubscribed. Yes. That's what I just. That's what I was looking
Why
about.
some states or some countries
They
are
don't even-
struggling and nobody is patronizing? Here is oversubscribed. People are cashing out and they're making cool money. So I think education is what is needed.
Very important.
We need to really talk about it because a lot of Nigerians are still very ignorant when it comes to the area of investing. People don't know how it works. It's not broken down for them to be able to know that this thing actually is able or have the capacity to change their life if they can be a little patient. And the beauty is that if you put that kind of money, every quarter you get some salary. That's what it means, while your capital remains. So they keep giving you, you can decide to say, okay, I want to reinvest it and make more money. And this is what the big boys are doing. And that's why when I say to people, don't think that everybody who drives car is a thief. So people are doing very legitimate business. Money is working for them, and they are not working for money. And that's what wealth actually means, that you get to a certain point in your life that you are not the one working for money, but money is working for you. And Nigerians need to understand this. And government has done it in such a way that you are not required to put huge money. They make it low, to as low as 5,000. In some cases, it's 10,000. And you can grow it over time. And of course, it's to also encourage saving culture. Because if people don't save, they will not be able to invest. Some people save, and they save for a particular project, but investment culture is also very weak. And for us to actually be a prosperous nation, we must deliberately embrace saving and investment. I'll give you one example. What United Arab Emirates did one time, I have said it on this table before, Etisalat is owned by the teachers in the UAE. Federal government set up that business on behalf of the teachers because teachers are low paid. And what government decided to do and said, every teacher you are going to contribute 40,000 dirhams to acquire a share in this business. But the teachers, they know they don't have 40,000 dirhams. So government paid in advance and take it gradually from their salary. So if you're a teacher in the UAE, many of them are stakeholder in Etisalat. So every year, dividends are paid to them outside of the salary they earn monthly. So we need to cultivate that kind of a culture in our environment. And of course, if those people who are selling pepper, yes, a large job come to them, collect the money for them, but really there are no sufficient value. But here, you put it here, it's more value than what the Alajo will do, who can disappear into the tin air and you are not able to see him the following day. Well, I've seen a lot of victims around that environment.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. We'll take a short break. It's still Souq Business Landscape. Stay tuned.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Said is going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Welcome to Femi Walsh Limited, owners of Souq TV Lagos, Our Radio Lagos, Kaswa Radio Kano, and of course Emirates TV Abuja and Dubai. Our niche market for media is business, economy, and development. At Femi Walsh, we promote your company's products and services using our world-class facilities. From our radio to Souq TV, what you get is nothing but the best of the very best.
And if you're looking for the premium production firm for your events and corporate coverage, think no further, because we offer you the best of industry standards.
With high-definition cameras ranging from 4K to 8K multicam setups, high-directional microphones, and real-time streaming encoders, we give you a production like none other. And if you're looking to produce podcasts, adverts, and documentaries, Our team of experts will ensure that you convey your message clearly and professionally. Femi Welsh, Global Vision, Local Impact.
Human ingenuity has birthed remarkable innovations, none more so than the rise of intelligent machines. Computers, once small calculators, have evolved into sophisticated systems capable of mimicking human thought processes. Powered by artificial intelligence, AI, these systems are learning, problem-solving, and making decisions that were once exclusive domain of humans. From accelerating scientific discovery to tackling climate change, AI's potential is vast. But perhaps...
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
It said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep to their staff? Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy, see something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Welcome back to Souq Business Landscape. We're still discussing and we're still conversating. Yes, let me come over to you, Krumale. Yes, Nigeria, federal government of Nigeria savings bond totaling about 4.01 billion naira. Quite huge. But let's look at it. How can we sustain this? We have one of about 2 years, and we have one of about 3 years. But I'm looking beyond that. Long term, on a long term, can we sustain this?
Okay, so whilst we're on our first topic of conversation, we know that most part of that money that we're going to get to finance that project is going to come from loan. And the government in its own part had to, make some money available. This is one of the vehicles through which the government is going to get some of the monies that is going to, put on, to stand up to its own quota and make it available. This bond is meant for, retail investors and small savers to also participate in national development and also for them to make profit, because the government is never going to fail. They are going to. This is a very, very secured mode of investment.
Yes.
And Doc was telling you as low as 5,000 naira. Most times these bonds are oversubscribed. So there's somewhere I have a problem, and I to be probably good if those who are handling such projects to come and tell us outside. Is the government going to regulate the way the big players jump into this? Because some of the big players can come, like he said, if he has 3 billion naira, he's just going to throw it in. The big players are going to come in to participate, and they're just going to kick out the small players who might want to have the market sellers, the retail investors who might just say, okay, I just have 70,000 naira, I just have 100,000 naira, or I just have 25,000 naira to invest in this. How is it going to be regulated in such a way that it can get to this target? Because these are actually the targets of the government, not the big players that will just come up and sweep the whole system away. How are we going to be sure of that? Because if we do not, it would have defeated the purpose. Because not only is the government trying to reach out to these small players, but also to make them feel, to participate in this process where they are contributing to national development and they are gaining in the process.
I think there's a lot of regulation in the system. I may not be privy to all of them, but the fact that the market in Nigeria today is so democratized and is technologically driven, so that there's really no exclusion. There are minimal limits and there are also maximum limits to which private individual can put in, depending on what category you're coming from. I think the market is first come, first served. If you go to some specific app today, I don't want to call them because they have not given Olumide some money. So you will find that those opportunities are listed in those applications. So from the comfort of your room, you don't need to have a stockbroker today really to manage your portfolios. You can subscribe from your app. and then it's documented. And when your dividends are coming because of the e-mandate now that is being done, of course, they go straight to your bank. And it's clear enough. And you have plenty of these fintech who are also selling in the market space. And they are putting pressure on the market women and everybody to participate. I think it's just for people to be open enough to understand that there's an opportunity here that can mean something to them. We must speak it in the layman language. So what government is saying is, come and save some money with us, and we're going to give you interest of 16%. Now, some people still put money in fixed deposit in a bank. You can't get up to 5% in a year. But government says, if you save with us, quarterly we will be giving you, pay you your dividend, which is 16% per annum. And I think once people understand this, they can, it's like they call it first mover advantage. You understand that there is a subscription. So what they do is that if you are the first to subscribe, it's not your subscription that will be removed at the end of the time to say there's over subscription. It's the one who comes later. So you have to also plan toward it. And one good thing about this thing is that government just don't wake up in one night and say, we are doing bond. The schedule is already on. When the next bond is going to come after this one. So we know when it's going to come. People are saving towards it so that they can have participation in it. But just to let people understand that it's cool, it's safe, moderately, in short, the risk is low.
Very, very low.
Very low risk.
The institution has said it. It is cool and it is safe. Moyo, over to you.
I mean,
what do you think?
This bond was introduced, I believe, in 2017. And the major goals, as they said, was to boost financial literacy and diversify funding. On the diversification of fund front, I think it's working, But the financial literacy thing, I don't know if a lot of people even know when these things are even up for sale. People don't really know about that. I'm not going to even lie to you. I found out earlier this morning. I'm not going to lie to you. I found out earlier this morning. I missed it.
300 million
already. And it's first come, first serve. So I found out this morning, but it's already fully subscribed and things like that. I think there has to be a communication, a way to communicate this to everybody. Because the truth of the matter is, if you are a small-scale business owner, you're not going to, save up to buy a house in Lekki. You have to invest. So if there are investment plans such as this, which high interest rates, just 16, as Doug said, you're not going to get that in the bank. So you want things like this. People need things like this. And again, I understand where Krumale is coming from more from an ethical perspective, right? The people who have 3 billion in the bank account, probably like Doc, they don't particularly really need things like this, right? It's probably people like me, every day man, who needs to have access to things like this so that I can, I can save, because this is an investment, I can invest and be able to buy a home. Homes are expensive, things like that. This is for real everyday people. So maybe they should have like a quota, maybe. But as of right now, I think this works. I think also, having, sourcing funds domestically, I think it helps, especially with the volatility of the foreign exchange and all of that. So this is a good thing. It's a good thing. It also deepens, capital market liquidity. So kudos to them. I just hope that they let us know when next it is.
Let's not forget, even the fact that it's also help to monitor and control inflation, taking so much money from the hands of. It's a huge and a beautiful
there's not too much money chasing goods outside when you do things like this. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next story. Quite interesting one. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is seeking a new law to criminalize unexplained wealth in Nigeria. Yes, the chairman of the commission, Ola Olukoyede, made the appeal during a conference on public accounts and fiscal governance in Abuja. He said the current laws make it difficult to prosecute public officials who possess assets beyond their known income, as the EFCC must first prove a predicate offense before it can act. Olukoyede described the corruption in the oil and gas sector as alarming, citing fresh investigations that have exposed large-scale financial irregularities. He linked poor resource management to insecurity, saying funds meant to improve lives are being diverted. The EFCC also disclosed that it has secured convictions for 146 out of 194 foreigners arrested for cyber-related financial crimes this year. So, Doc, let me start with you. This is another fight in corruption, but let's look at it. How will, because Kumala and I were discussing this earlier on, that unexplained wealth and fraud, how would the EFCC be able to differentiate this? Because unexplained wealth might not necessarily translate into fraud or money laundering. So how would they be able to?
If you can't explain it, it's a fraud.
Then it's illicit.
There's no other word for it.
How do we explain it?
Once it's
It's inexplicable.
If it's legitimate, then you should be able to explain it.
Yeah.
I slept, I woke up, and I saw $1 billion in my
You know, that is it. It's important. You know, growing up as a child, I remember my mother teaching me some very principle of morality. And he gave me a very beautiful story. And the way he painted it was that there was this woman who was married and was struggling with her husband, and they were very poor. And in the midst of poverty, went into the bush to go search for snail, and he discovered there was a pot of money somewhere. And of course, by culture, the woman is not supposed to carry that pot. She needs the man to help. And unfortunately, he came home and said to the man, and said, please, there's a pot there. We need to carry it. There's money inside. And the man said, my own money, God will bring it to me in the house and not keep it in the bush. That must be somebody's money who kept it there. And the woman very angry, and they said, well, I think that you are cursed. You don't want to prosper. So what you need to do is you have to follow this road yourself. Me, I want to find my level. And then he went out to go marry somebody else who was willing to carry the pot. And incidentally, by the time they got to the bush that night to take the pot, the money has turned to bees. And they were beating red, blue, and the woman became so angry, went to pick the pot and then carry it home and then threw the bead so that the man will be beaten to death in his sleep for the first.
Is this the new husband?
The old husband now. Now, because the new husband has divorced now and said, after being beaten by bees, don't want to go to that line again.
What is wrong with this woman?
so by the time they threw the pot inside the man's house, he has turned on money, and the man was there thanking God, and I said to this woman that my money, if God wants to give me money, he will bring it to my house. You see, there's no money you cannot explain its source. There's no money.
I agree.
You see that you are trading, or somebody send it to you.
Gave
and if this person who is sending this money to you is also known to be a person who has the capability to earn such money. You understand? So my son sent me $2 billion. And the question is, oh, he lives in America, but what work is he doing in America to earn $2 billion? So we need to find out that he's not stealing from America and you are receiving stolen property into your account. Now, these are the things. So wealth has to be explained. But unfortunately, the way our legal system is designed, I think that's actually the problem. That if we have an adversarial legal system where, of course, everybody who is accused has the onus to defend itself, it would have been simple for EFCC. But the problem is that every time you accuse somebody, the onus is on the government to prove that this money is illegal. And I think that is what is making most of these cases not winnable when it comes to litigations. Because our own legal system says that the person is deemed innocent until proven guilty. So the onus of proof is on the prosecuting party. So the government, in this case, if it's a criminal offense, is the prosecuting party. So the onus of proof is on government, and the government don't have documents to show. But if we rewire the law and we say, well, the onus of proof is on the government. So I accuse you and say, morally, it's true, you stole it. And I say, I didn't. And I say, okay, show us the proof I didn't sell it. You didn't steal it. What will happen? A lot of people become careful. There will not be document to say, okay, this money was from rent, this money was from this thing, and these things are documented, and then we can see people living legitimately. But as long as our law is written in such a way that the onus of proof is always on the accusing or the prosecuting party, it will be difficult to prosecute. And I think this is kind of thing that they are actually advocating, and I think that is where we should go, an adversarial kind of a legal system, where we, who are the people, will now have to defend the source of our wealth.
Yeah.
You don't say, okay, I was a trader. Oh, yes, you're a trader. Go and bring in, let's see the your ledger. And see what you have been selling. Because a lot of people go on the public space and say, everybody know that I am a trader. And we don't know what they are selling. Recently, we even heard that there is somebody who has been an industrialist that has been bankrolling some political appointment. And there are no single industry built. So in this case, you find that we will have people able to account to say, if you are an industrialist, we say, okay, where are the industries? What are they producing? So that we are not just in an environment where people just claim, make claim, and then we just take it for granted. Because the government has no document, the government has no proof to counter whatever claim you are making, it looks as if that your wealth is claimed. So I think there's a need really to review our legal system so that the onus of proof will be on the accused, not the accuser.
All right, coming to you, Krumale. Criminalizing investors' unexplained wealth, how would it influence investors' confidence? Will it inspire it, or will it raise red flag?
Okay, so criminalizing unexplained wealth. Oh, it is so easy. Start from the politicians. You were not a government appointee, you were not a political functionary, and your accounts, we can trace your accounts and all of that. We know how many accounts you have because the banks will know. And if the government wants to get those information, the government can do that. Have your bank accounts, through your BVN, they should be able to get the number of bank accounts maybe that you have. And now, they're seeing that in the space of 10 years, from the past 9 years till now, you can see that you are worth 350 million naira, and you became a local government chairman, or you became a member of the House of Assembly of the State, or a member of House of Representatives, or the senator, and in 2 years' time, we could now see that from 350 million naira, we are talking about 3.5 billion naira. Let's calculate your salary as a senator within that 2 years period of time. And even if you did not spend 1 kobo from it, would it have amounted to 3.5 billion naira? Including the perks that comes with occupying that office, your constituency allowance, and every other allowances that you earn. Would you have had such amount of money? Or now, probably you are in that position, you now, apart from the car that the government gave you, you now have other kind of luxury cars that each of them could worth 150 million naira. How did you get it? Because if the government, yes, I will not go with Doc by saying he who accused, that the Lord has says he who alleges must prove the burden of proof. Yes, must put the burden of proof. Also, we must also allege that. We also must put it to writing that, look, you that have been accused, you yourself still need to make it like, look, I got this from X, Y, Z sources. Because if not, we'll be able to use it against each other.
There are 2 types of judicial systems. There's the inquisitorial system and there's the adversarial system. Now, in the inquisitorial system, the judge is waiting for you as somebody. Prosecutor. Yes, of course, the burden of proof. If they say you are a thief, the burden of proof is on you to say, yes, I'm not a thief. I got this money legally. This is the truth.
Why did you call him a thief? That means you must have had some evidence.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I am saying to you that I have looked at you, I check where you work, and I imagine that what you earn in a year
as a restaurant,
totally put together is 10 million. And I'm seeing you driving a car or registering a car that is worth 450 million.
What if he's into this investment
Yeah, that is what it is.
are not known
so
to
we
the
are not,
public?
He's not going to get that from the bank.
He's not going to
It's
get
from invested
we are not
terminal.
saying the law is not going to send you to jail.
It's just asking.
The law is asking you a question to show document that this 450 that was used in the purchase of this car was actually legitimately earned by you, or it was a gift from somebody who also has legitimately earned that money, and then you are free. But what we have right now is that even if you have stolen government money and you have used stipends to clean the papers, and we cannot find anything traceable to you, the onus of proof gets on the government because we are adversarial. So we are asking you as the prosecuting agent to come and prove to the court that this man stole the money or he stole the vote. So in that case, it is the onus of proof is on the accuser or the prosecuting team. So, but what I'm saying is that if we have, like they do in France or in Germany, the inquisitorial kind of system, where of course the judge is interested in the fact, and of course he wants you to defend whatever claim that you said you have, then of course you will find a lot of people be careful in brandishing words, which is even the big principal thing that is creating the kind of this urge for crime in our environment. People just want to get money. Because you get money, nobody asks you questions. You just wake up one day, you are riding Lamborghini. Maybe all you have done in your own lifetime is just being a politician for 16 years. And we are putting together what the law allows you to earn as a politician. Is in 16 years, not up to 20 million. And now you are driving a Lamborghini of 450 million.
That is why.
And you are saying, I earn it. So we want you tell us, you will tell us, I say, tell this court how you got this money. It's not EFCC, the query is not to EFCC. Tell the court that this man did not legitimately earn this money.
Okay, great. So
I think you're both agreeing.
Yes, okay, we are both doing that. So the thing is, it should start from the politicians.
Agreed.
It should start from members of the House of Representatives, it should start from the senators, it should start from the ministers, it should come down to the state governors, to local government chairmen, and to councillors. Because if we do not do that, you know what? This law that the EFCC is even saying is not going to see the light of the day.
No. I don't like when we are singling people out. Let it become a national law that applies to everybody. Whoever you are.
No, I'm not selecting them. I am not.
The point I'm making is that let it be a national law. It applies to everybody. Whether you are a market woman, whether you are a politician, whether you are a pastor, whoever you are, as long as you are in Nigeria, let this law apply to everybody. That people, wherever they are, must be able to defend the source of their wealth. Not that until a politician do it, it should not.
Can I say something? Let me even
say. When you say it should start, it should not start from. It should start with everybody.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But
add this to your thoughts.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, even before this legislation, this proposed legislation, we have asset declaration, whereby you declare your assets at the beginning of your term of office, and every 4 years after each term. And
there's another form presented to you to declare assets.
Don't you think all we need to do is fine tune this and see how we can improve on this, apart from this legislation?
With the people have been declaring, but we still see money being missing and different things going on. So I think this, I didn't even know that we needed, that Olukoyede had to come out to say something like this. I thought, if you suspect somebody and if there are signals to that, especially in the public space as politicians, I think you should be able to, send them a message and say, please, we need you to explain some of these monies. It's only right. Also, there's a crassness around people who obtain money illegally. You just see the way they spend money, the way they act very, very, very annoyingly. You see them using guns to spray money. Again, I'm not judging anybody.
Entertainers do that also.
And no, all of them. I know there are some specific ones in my head. I can't just say their names, for legal reasons. But I will say this: I think that if you have a certain job, right, and then you are buying Lamborghinis as the doc has said, I think I should be able to say, okay, where is all this money coming from? And then you explain.
I think the EFCC should be able to do that. It should be within the ambit of, their powers, because at the end of the day, it reinforces, the fact that we need transparency, right? And if you're going to join government, you need to prove when you're joining that you're going to be transparent financially. You have to be responsible. And I think that's where Mr. Krumale is coming from when he says, oh, you should start with the politicians, because we know. We've seen the Ezani story and all these other stories where politicians, loot all this amount of money. So I kind of get why he's saying that. I would rather it started with, if I saw a politician saw a random person here, I would rather you first start with him, even though I suspect that both of them have done something wrong. And the reason why I said that is because for the politician, what they do affects all of us so much more than just the other person, one person. Just know what I mean?
No, I don't think so.
If you want to build roads, and you have money to build roads, I know how many people die on roads. Exactly.
Yeah, but we also can find, we read in the paper yesterday of a certain man whose former driver went into the house, killed him in the morning, Saturday night, and drove away and was trying to sell the car somewhere else, and the whole estate, because it was locked in, the smell and everything, is creating public nuisance in that environment. It's not only the politicians that cause this. So law should apply to everybody the same way. What I'm saying is that we should not be selective in terms of thinking about legal things. See, politicians are just few. I say to people, if we isolate them and lock them in the room, one day we can chase them away from this country if every other person is doing what is right. Yeah. So my advocacy is that if you're making a law, don't make it because of anybody. Make it as a national law that it applies to everybody. So wherever you are. So once you have this idea that, until we are not dealing with politicians first, then it should not apply to everybody, become a problem. But my point is that let the law apply to everybody across board, whoever. Okay. Let it become a national law. But on the question on the asset declaration, we have also seen in this country where people had declared the asset that they are going to steal in 8 years and present it in the first year.
Doc, can you give us an example of this?
I would rather you did it. I'd rather you did it.
First of all, your first administration, or no, as you are preparing to contest, or probably you've contested and you declare your assets. I think the Code of Conduct Bureau gives that form. There was a time the Code of Conduct Bureau was even lamenting that politicians don't respond. They don't respond. There are some 3 former presidents in this country. The first administration they declared. The second administration they refused to declare. Who demanded it from them? The Code of Conduct Bureau, the president is responsible for appointing those who head that Code of Conduct Bureau and the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Who is going to make? They did not. And they lamented and they kept quiet. Senators, some of them are found within that. So if you're going to do that, and in the confines of government, and there are laws, these are institutional laws, these are laws that are species of an act of parliament, and you refuse to obey that, who holds them? Who will hold them to account? Is it going to be the EFCC boss that is appointed by the chief executive? So that's why I'm like, okay, put it there. That law must have such clause that in that space, so if the EFCC and some other ministries, departments, and agencies are going to, exercise some institutional and regulatory authorities to demand you as the occupier of such a political position to make your earnings and your asset known to the public. At that particular point in time, yes, you can be the president, but you know what? You are subjected to that regulation. Obey it. If you do not obey it, the law should specifically say that they are saddled with the powers to call your bluff and to send it to the Supreme Court that, look, Mr. President or XYZ minister did not obey this particular court and he must be subjected to doing that. Can they do that? This is a pertinent question that the doctor is smiling. He knows that such law would not see the light of the day. That's why I'm saying that, look, this particular law most likely may not see the light of the day, or it's going to be applied in breach. There's going to be a certain set of people that will be changed.
I agree.
So you see why I'm laughing is you just have to understand the psychology of humans. It depends on the way you present some certain things. if you make it look as if that I am the target, and you are asking me to also sign my own death warrant, I will never sign.
But is it death warrant if you are corrupt?
Eh?
It's only a death warrant if you are corrupt.
The person is.
Yeah, but that is the thing. So, you see, you must understand, they call it a class suicide. There are some certain things that you're expecting that people do. You don't make it look as if that they're actually the victim until the law itself is on the ground. So what we are looking at, we are not looking at politicians, we are looking at the way people brandish word, because somehow there is this self-acclaimed sainthood in every individual. So what EFCC is asking, make a law that governs Nigeria, so we don't need to have to narrow it down that it is politicians we are targeting.
No.
But let the law even be written in the first place.
Yeah.
Because the laws, once they become constitutional, everybody, we're now asking for the political will for the judiciary to be able to apply some of this law to the individuals concerned. And we must also understand some things. You see, there are so many things that people talk about in Nigeria and think that every time the judiciary make pronouncement, that maybe one executive or one politician is involved in the pronouncement. Most of those things that happen is actually done by the individual judge who is corrupt in himself and has taken the money and can also obtain judgment. So, but you see how sometimes people just feel that, it is the government that gave order that judge must. No, most of the time it's not. Because I've also had a training opportunity with senior judges in Nigeria. And in short, one of them told me and he said, look, we are the worst. In short, he said, both the bar and the bench in Nigeria are the problem of Nigeria and not the politician. And this is a very senior judge in the Supreme Court. So we must understand some of all these things. And this is why you see, when things are done, the lawyers come through this side, they go through their classmates in school, and then justice are subverted. That's the point I'm making. So if law applies to everybody alike, and the judges themselves have their integrity intact, and they are not willing to be used, and if it becomes a case that somebody is putting pressure on you, and you say to your SCJ, and I apply to rescue myself from this case, and people are asking why, I say, well, I'm under pressure. Now, these things become open because it is the collective integrity of all of us, whether in the media, whether in the bar, whether in the bench, whether in the school system, that will eventually save this nation, and not the politicians. And this, for me, is where the real issues are. Because I've seen cases that I can put on the table here, where you see that politicians mean well, but the people on this other side mean evil. So we must not be looking at politicians alone, we must not be looking at people who are on this other side that is actually creating that environment for this mishap to happen to all of us.
Can I please say one thing?
Moyo, also, I have one question for you, and I want you to add it to it.
Okay.
Now, there was a whistleblower policy, which gained some tremendous success
for a while.
Until now, we do not know how. Do you think we should also encourage, the FCC should encourage that whistleblower? That might also aid, some form of a level of unexplained wealth.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if we really need the whistleblower thing. I want to even focus on what Doc said. See, the mere fact that we even refer to it as suicide in the first place, I want to go back to that, is an indictment on majority of the politicians, that most of them are corrupt. Now, nobody's saying that, it's only the politicians we should focus on. I think with the crux of what Krumale and I are saying is that the politicians should not be above this law.
Yeah.
All right. And again,
not that it should start with them.
It does. You can start anywhere.
No. It can start anywhere.
No. Yeah, they should not. It can start anywhere. Or it should not be above. They should not be above.
Nobody should be above the law.
No, they shouldn't.
Nobody.
Nobody. Yeah. No, obviously me, I'm not above the law.
Yes.
So I'm talking about the people who seem to appear to be above the law. We see them. We see all these things on TV and in the news all the time. But when it's time to prosecute somebody, some way, somehow, somebody comes and says, "Oh, I have health issues," and they are fainting in front of the camera, and they go home, and somehow the story dies.
Yeah. But we also saw somebody like you who is committing traffic offense.
Where did you see him? That's not somebody like you.
And
You
the
can call his name.
officers are accusing them, and they say, "I will call the governor for you."
That is referring to saying you can call his name. It's not somebody like me. That's referring to saying, and let's not conflate the conversation.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
No, see, when we make statements like this, it's almost like we're making excuses for these corrupt politicians. Let's not conflate the conversation.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it is not only politicians that
I know, and I'm saying nobody else is above. Nobody's above. I'm just saying that the politicians should definitely not be above the law. That's
I agree with that.
Because for the most part, it seems to me, and it appears to most of us, that the politicians are. So, am I making any sense?
Yes, you are.
All right.
All right, coming to you, Kumale, this is going to affect. We've talked about politicians and all that. Let's go into the private sector. Now, how do you think, or what do you think companies now will need to conduct due diligence on directors, shareholders, and all that, in order not to avoid being tied to unexplained wealth? I mean, because if a shareholder or investor has unexplained wealth and he has shares in your company, how would that not affect you or the company itself?
Me? I have a company legitimately registered.
Yes.
I'm running a legitimate business.
Yes, and one of your shareholders.
One of my shareholders has wealth that he cannot explain.
Yes.
He invested in my company.
Yes.
Why would why would that be a problem? I don't know the source of his wealth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know even if I know the source of his wealth as someone who runs a bakery, or someone who runs a restaurant, or someone who owns chains of hotels. Am I going to be asking him, what else do you do to show me your financial records before you come to invest in my company? Will I want to block you from coming to invest in my company? Of course no. If you have a problem with the law enforcement agents, are the law enforcement agents going to come and, oh, okay, this guy stole money and he invested it in your organization? And if you're going to remove that money from my organization, it's going to lead to the crumbling of my business. Am I running a legitimate business? That's a question, yes. Okay, fine. Do I even have knowledge that this money was stolen? No. Do I know him as a business person? Yes. Does he have to declare his statement of account before investing in my company? No. Do they declare that before they invest in government bonds?
Obviously not.
So why would my company come to pay for that?
Or will you conduct due diligence, investigation?
Yeah, but I would think that we have actually, event has overtaken some of all this conversation. Because as it is today, with the Nigeria Revenue Service Act, that the president has signed into law, there's a provision that every bank in Nigeria, beginning from January 1, 2026, must report as a matter of duty to Nigeria Revenue Service any transaction in any account that is 1 naira above 5 million in a month to NRS. Yes. So I think that it's actually for local day to
Just
get to Nigeria Revenue Service, so that as we are taxing those money, we're also ensuring that the sources are becoming verifiable. We may not even need a new law to solve this problem.
Honestly, that's a great point. I don't think.
But see, these are things that we can bypass. Why? Because abroad, if you own more than one account, there are some countries that if you own more than one account, you are being taxed and you are paying for owning for the extra accounts that you own. You are going to be surcharged for those accounts. Until we have such kind of policy come into place, no. Because if we look towards around some people now, you see that some people own like 7 bank accounts. So if you charge me 1 naira above 5 million in any account, and I have lots of money.
I think it's cumulative because what is going to
around multiple accounts.
No, this is not connected.
It's only connected to one BVN.
Connected to one BVN. So I don't think
all the accounts are connected to one BVN.
No, but
so
since it's multiple accounts,
yes, it doesn't matter. It's your BVN. That's what FRS is interested in. Your BVN, and that's what EFCC should be interested in. Well. So wherever the bank is, as long as it's in Nigeria, the BVN captures it. Whatever you own in all of this bank, can be seen on the dashboard.
Okay. So in that case, then it is now incumbent on the EFCC to make sure that, look, criminals who kidnap people and who get money paid into their account as a ransom, they need to go after them. Those who have bank accounts established and the bank accounts are operating without functional BVN, they need to go around those people, because if they're not doing that, how are they going to be able to do this that we are talking about? That means there's discrimination in the implementation of the law.
That's right.
And we must not do that.
The law has not started, so we are waiting for the law to take effect.
Oh, there are some of them on ground now that is...
What about on the flip side?
The issue is that, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You see, every time we look at, that's why I'm actually detrapized. I'm not a politician. I have the opportunity to be one, but I decline. But what I'm saying in essence is that the problem we have in Nigeria, as long as we keep isolating it to one particular class of people, we will continue to make blunders and mistakes. Let me tell you something. Before now, when EFCC was created, they actually have desks in all the banks as we speak. And the whole idea about EFCC having desk in the bank is to ensure that if there are transactions that are questionable, they should get the alert from the bank owners.
Yes.
Now, EFCC is a government institution. CBN is a government institution. Now, the banks are reporting to the CBN, and everybody should be able to see what transaction is going place. So, EFCC should actually have naturally data right there in the bank branches. They have seats there. But why they're not doing their work? It's not because of the politician. And this is the problem that I'm telling you, that until we deal with the settlement culture of corruption in Nigeria, we will not be able to get out of the problem. Because I can still tell you, politicians in Nigeria are not 1% of our total population. And if that is the only people that are bad in Nigeria, then this must have been an Eldorado.
All right, so, Doc, your final thoughts?
Well, my final thought that everybody should be clean. And not just the politicians should be clean, pastors should be clean, imams should be clean, journalists should be clean, the market women should be clean, labor leaders should be clean.
Journalists are always clean. The journalists are always clean, and that is why we have the liberty to talk about these people, and that's why we can point accusing fingers even to the politician. And we know that Doc has been with them before. Now he's come to join us. Well,
he had the opportunity.
He said he declined.
It declined.
Yeah. That's a good man.
It's
not a bad thing to be a politician. It is the Nigerians just want the politicians to meet up with their expectation. And it is bad because the expectations of Nigerians are not too much. If you give these people cheap public facilities, just give them basic public facilities like water, education, let them earn well, give them good roads, you have satisfied them. But when these things are not forthcoming, it's an indictment on those who have been elected to represent these people and not to live up to their responsibilities. And we must begin to have a rethink when we contest for political office to make sure we have the needs of people to meet. That is an obligation we cannot fault.
Mayor, your final thoughts?
Well, I will say this. I don't think that we need the law itself because Doc has practically explained this. There are other ways that you can go about it to ensure that we sort of like monitor people's source of income. And also, if this law actually got passed by some weird chance, we run the risk of abuse of these proper legal checks, right? We already see situations where people are reporting the EFCC members are jumping in through hotel windows and jumping in through roofs, and stuff like that. Also, as Doc mentioned, in Nigeria here, you're presumed innocent until you're proven guilty. Right? So this may conflict with that constitutional presumption. And there's also, as Mr. Kumali said, the selective implementation of this law.
Yes.
And this is why we say that it has to be across board. So yeah, again, as Doug said, I don't know if we really need it. There are other ways to go about it with existing policies and laws right now.
Thank you very much, Moyo. From local highways to global tariffs, today's headlines prove that every decision, whether made in Abuja, Ilajeo, or Washington, echoes across the market. Stay with us for more insight, and remember, every trend begins with a ripple. This is Souq Business Landscape, bringing Africa's business heartbeat closer to you. And this is where we draw the curtains on today's episode of Souq Business Landscape. For more updates, kindly follow us on our social media platform at Souqnews TV. I am Olumide Shokoya. Priye.
Yes, my name is Oyim Priye Kromale. It's been a wonderful moment with you today.
Viewers, keep the conversation going. Souqnews TV at Instagram, at YouTube and Facebook. And let's hear your thoughts. And we will be ready to be educated by our audience and our viewers.
Yes, just as the doc said, be a part of the Souq TV News family and let us know your thoughts on everything that we discuss. My name is Moyo Seradebi. It's always a joy being on Souq Business Landscape.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
He said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff? Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.